Hey everyone, it's Lucas with another Big Brother Spoilers intro. After a conversation with Survivor 46 Stolinsky, we're keeping the Survivor streak going, this time jumping ahead into Survivor 47 with Gabe Ortis. In this interview, Gabe opens up about his Survivor 47 experience, from biggest moments that defined his game to what he wishes he could have done differently in the game. He talks through the twists, alliances, and strategy of the season, including the role of alternates, the players who stood out to him, and his thoughts on the relationships that shaped his time in Fiji. Gabe also shares his reactions to watching the season back and how it felt to see his game play out from a viewer's perspective. We also dive into the current Survivor season, Gabe's thoughts on Survivor 49 and future Survivor 50, and how he compares the new era gameplay to his own. Plus, we touch on other reality TV experiences, including Love is Blind and his podcast with Johnny Fairplay, and even explore some Big Brother crossover questions about which Survivor players could handle the Big Brother house. It's candid, funny, and full of insight from someone who's played the game and also reflected on it as a fan and commentator. So let's jump into it.
I'm so excited to be talking to you. How are you doing today?
This is awesome, man. I can't wait.
So it's wild that it's already been a year since Survivor 47. So how's life been for you since leaving Fiji?
Yeah, you're telling me, dude. It's nuts to think that, it's November 2nd? So we were probably episode 7 or 8 at this point last year. Yeah, really crazy. But it's been great, dude. I get to be a part of this awesome community that I was a fan in for a while, and now I get to be an alumni, and that's pretty cool. And it's just cool, me and the whole 47 cast, as I'm sure a lot of people see online, all get along really well. So I kind of got this whole built-in little family friend group that I get to share this experience with, and that's by far the coolest thing I've taken away.
Well, not all, but we'll get into that later.
Sure.
So is there anything difficult about transitioning back to normal life after the filming of the show or after the airing of the show?
I think it's different for everybody. I think it kind of depends on what you're coming back to, So I know some people in 47, like Saul, for instance, they went back to work the Monday that we got back from Fiji, which is totally insane to me. I don't know how anybody could do that. So I had 2 months off work after I got back because I actually quit my job to go play Survivor. So I was like, I'm not going to go really hard on this job search for too long. And then 2 months went by. I was like, okay, I need something to do. So it was a pretty easy transition for me. There's definitely a little bit of a shock in that first week that you're back, just because it's I just did this crazy thing. Nobody knows about it. I'm not really supposed to talk about it, which makes it even more difficult. So I was very lucky to have a very supportive, tight-knit cast to kind of lean on for this first couple of weeks where it's really weird getting back into your flow of things. But it was a positive transition. A little confusing, but definitely positive.
Do they pay you right after the filming of the show so that, you didn't have to think, oh, I have to go get a job as much, or is that not till later they pay you?
That comes later.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know if Rachel, they gave her the $1 million right after. She's like, oh, I'm good, I don't have to work. But
no, yeah, I wish, but unfortunately not.
So let's get into the current season 49. So how have you been liking the season so far?
I think it's good. I think it's been more fun than 48 was thus far. I think that 49 so far, I think it's been more fun than 48 has, but not by a whole lot. And I think that with 50 right around the corner, I think a lot of people thought that was going to hurt 49, but I actually think it's done the opposite. I think it's been very helpful to this season because I think this season has been rather slow. I think a lot of the vote outs have been pretty predictable. I think even the blind sides this season, everybody kind of saw them coming before the episode even started. But I think knowing that 2 people in this season are on 50 has actually allowed people to be more invested into it despite the slow start that it's had. So I think that, what a lot of people thought was going to be a big weight around the neck of this season has actually uplifted it through these first 2 months of it airing.
Yeah, so I spoke to Sammy from season 43 a few weeks ago. He described the season as boring, and he wasn't able to get hooked into it yet. Jelinski, I spoke to today. He was a little higher on it, but how would you describe the season? Is it boring so far?
I think I would call it predictable because, I think some people judge the metrics of a Survivor season by how interesting the vote outs are, right? Are there big blind sides that are happening. Like, are you surprised by who goes home at the beginning of the episode versus the end? And I think that that is a big part of it, but I don't think that's everything. I think that Sophie has been a really, really, really fun personality to watch develop out there, doing nothing but losing up until the last episode. I think Savannah has been like a fascinating character to watch play out, and they also have really fun personalities to go with that. I think this season has a lot of very fun personalities, and I think that's probably been the best thing about it so far, is the fact that, like, even though the strategy and the votes haven't been the most shocking things in the world, the confessionals are really fun. Like, the interpersonal gameplay between any two people you want to pick so far has generally been pretty fun. So I would call it predictable. I don't think it's been boring, but I think it's been predictable.
Yeah, so speaking of the characters on the season, who are some of your favorite players? Who you're liking so far?
Yeah, I mentioned Sophie. I mentioned Savannah. I've really been enjoying MC, and I wish that she's had gotten more screen time than she's gotten so far, because I think she's playing a really interesting game in the background. Obviously, she has that idol, so we'll see what she does with that. But I've been liking MC a whole lot this season, and I hope that we kind of get to see her long-term vision for the game get put on the screen at some point, because I feel like we see MC in a position where she needs to make a decision, and then we go away from her, and then we come back and she's like somehow in a better place than she was before, but we never really get to see how she got there, right? Like, we see her plotting against Steven early in the season, and now they're like each other's number ones, and I think that's awesome for MC, but we don't really know like how that happened, you know? So I'd like to see some more game screen time for MC, but regardless, I've really been enjoying her. Um, I think that Nate has been a very interesting guy so far. He's been really good in confessionals. And I think he has found himself in a lot of very safe positions. Now, he got pretty badly swapped, but he managed to survive that, and they won the challenge, and they didn't have to go to tribal, which was huge for him. But I am curious to see how he'll manage his threat level. I think a lot of people look at him as the head of the snake for Uli, which he actually doesn't seem to be. I think it's Savannah by everything we're seeing, but he's going into the merge with a pretty big threat level. So I'll be shocked if he can hold on to this for much longer, but it'll be interesting to see how he develops. So those are some of the people I've been looking at and really enjoying so far.
So let's go back to episode 3 when Jake was medically evacuated from the game. What did you think watching Jake's medevac?
Yeah, it was definitely scary. I mean, you get the news that there wasn't any venom in the bite, and I think you kind of relax after you hear that, and it seems like he was pretty much okay the whole time, but it was just like this over precaution because it was a seemingly potentially life or death scenario. The thing I took away from that was all the behind the scenes we got. It was a lot of stuff you've like never seen on Survivor before, right? Like everything from seeing base camp, which was crazy, where all the whole production crew is, and seeing the boats that they transport us on, to even seeing like the survival binder they give us. Like that's something I never thought would see the light of day. So all the behind the scenes we got over the course of that sequence was really, really cool. And obviously stuff that I've all seen before, you know, even base camp I haven't seen, or at least not like a lot of it. But like it was cool to get that peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, I was at the RHP live show in New York for that episode, and it was dead silent in the whole time that scene was taking place. So
yeah, I don't doubt it.
And since you were in Fiji yourself, did you have any run-ins with any snakes or anything like that?
Thankfully, no, because I am terrified of snakes. Thankfully, the extent of animals that I had to deal with were either insects, birds, or bats. So it was all things that, you know, had no interest in coming up close to me, and that was nice, except for the bugs, but whatever.
Yeah, so after Jake was medically evacuated and Jeremiah was voted, Alex and Sophie were the last 2 members of their tribe. How do you think that your tribe would have went, Tuku, if you guys went down to 2 members?
Like, who do I think would have been left?
Yeah, if you guys lost 4 challenges in the pre-marriage, who do you think would have been the last 2, like Alex and Sophie?
Well, me and Sue, of course, right?
Yeah.
That's how I think it would go out. It would be very interesting to see which way Sue went. If it was just me, her, and Caroline, to see where she would vote. But yeah, I'd put my money on me and Sue making it out of that. No doubt in my mind.
You wouldn't have tried to get rid of Caroline at 4 because you would be concerned about Caroline and Sue being tight, or you just had Sue unlocked?
I think I knew me and Sue. It was me and Sue versus the world at all times. Caroline was definitely part of that trio, and it was a very necessary part of that trio. But I think when you get down to the core of it, it was me and Sue.
So I think this was the first time in the new era that they swapped from 3 tribes to 2. What do you think of the tribe swap? First time 2 tribes.
Yeah, it was cool, and then they go back to 3, which I thought was like interesting. I didn't love it just because every time you swap, you kind of like throw everyone's game into a randomizer, right? And like part of that is Survivor, but I think that you can get to a point where it's like a little too much. So I thought going to 2 tribes was cool. I think it was kind of this like acknowledgement that we are open to doing 2 tribes. It's not something that we're completely against. But it was just like a little drip of it, right? Because then we immediately go back to 3 tribes. But I like it's progress. I'm a big proponent for 2 tribes. I would love to see a Survivor season start with 2 tribes again. I think it's better for TV. I think it's better for the game. So it was nice to get a little acknowledgement, but it's like, okay, this is an appetizer. Like, give me what I really want, and we'll see if they do that anytime in the future.
Do you think the going back to 3 tribes was that planned, or do you think the Jake medevac forced a change in the schedule?
I think it was probably planned. I think everything that we've kind of seen and heard, the only thing that needed to be changed was they didn't do one challenge that they had planned. But I think that was probably always in the cards. And, you hear Jeff say, whether you believe him or not, that pretty much everything they do when it comes to tribe swaps is planned ahead of time. And I generally tend to believe that. I would be curious to see how like the dynamics of the swaps would have worked out had Jake still been in the game. That would have been interesting. But I think it was probably planned. Yeah.
Would you have liked a tribe swap on your season?
Yes, because I really would have liked to have like one-on-one time in smaller settings with people that weren't on my tribe. So that would have been nice to set myself up better for the merge, but also no, because I was so safe on Tuku that again, it's like you're throwing your game into a randomizer, right? So do I want to go from being like on the tippy top of my pre-merge tribe to then having no idea where it's going to shake out, and maybe like if I lose a challenge, I'm definitely going home. So like the answer would have been no, but I think there would have been a lot of positives from having a swap on 47 where I could align myself up tighter with some people outside of Tuku going into that merge.
Did you go on a journey at all where you can meet other people, or no?
I never went on any journeys, no. I was very anti-journey.
So we saw Shannon get voted out last episode. What were your thoughts on Shannon's game?
I thought she was a very clockable player. Like, I think that she was somebody who everybody kind of saw what she was doing. Everybody didn't really want to get comfortable with her because they could tell that she was just playing the game really hard. And even when she wasn't playing the game, she was playing the game. And like, it's not a position that's going to take you very deep in Survivor just because it makes people uncomfortable. And I think that's exactly what she did. And I think we've seen examples of those players, especially in the new era where they just come out and they play super, super hard. And especially when they get around new people, whether it's a swap or a merge, they start playing even harder. And it kind of just throws everybody off balance. And she becomes a very easy lightning rod. So I thought she was a very clockable player. I think she was somebody who it was pretty easy if you know what you're watching, was never going to go that deep into the game. But not to say that she wasn't a fun personality. And I do think she added a lot into the season in terms of just the narrative and of the personality of the season as a whole. But yeah, somebody who was pretty easy to clock.
Yeah, she was playing very hard. She was using that spirituality angle. Did you see a resemblance to South Pacific with that alliance?
Like, again, yes and no, because I think that it was just one person. Like, it didn't really catch on. Nobody else was really on that train with her. I think people were just like, oh, this is kind of her vibe. Okay. Where Coach had people, like a whole group of people buying into that mentality. So I other than her just being like a devout Christian, I don't really see a whole lot of similarities there because it didn't work. Maybe if it worked, then there would be something there, but it didn't. So, it's if Coach got voted out in the pre-merge, maybe that's what it would have looked like.
Do you think that Shannon could have stayed in the game if she didn't pitch to vote out Juwan, if she voted out Steven? Should Uli have stuck together?
Perhaps, but I think that the well was already so poisoned with her and Sage that I don't see a world where Sage isn't pushing that vote. And if she is, Steven will always be on board with it. So like I think that would have been a better move for her. I honestly think the best move for Shannon in that round would have been to keep going after Sage. That was somebody that she formed that plan. Steven is somebody that Shannon formed that plan with to vote out Sage the round before. And now she's on an island again with Steven and Sage. And she decides to pivot off that plan and go after Juwan, who is somebody that nobody really had a lot of steam to get out for. And I don't understand the strategy behind that. I feel like you have Steven there. You've already expressed a want to get rid of Sage to him. And now he's in a position where anybody but him works. Like, I don't know why you don't go up to Steven and say, hey, like, remember when we talked about Sage? Like, I will still do that and you will still be in the game. They both want to vote you out because you're the easy vote. I won't do that. I'll vote out Sage with you. And worst case scenario, we go to a 2-2 tie. But when you go and you want to vote out Juwan, all of a sudden you give Sage ammunition against you to turn a vote against you that was part of your original tribe in Juwan and probably would have voted with you no matter what. But now, like, you've poisoned the well with Sage and you're poisoning the well with Juwan. So it's like, I don't know why she was so desperate to flip on an Uli member. It doesn't make sense to me.
I didn't even think of voting out Sage. This is why you were so good at the game, Gabe.
There you go. Yeah, thank you.
So we saw two episodes ago the chicken reward. What did you think of that? And do you think we need to see this scene play out on Survivor anymore?
Yeah, I think we do. I don't know why people don't like this. Like, okay, like if you're part of the small percentage of people out there that don't eat meat, then like I get why you would say I don't want to watch this. But the vast majority of people on the show probably eat tons and tons and tons of chicken every year. And I think that like the point of it is not just for like the gore of it all, of like we're murdering an animal. I think the point of it is kind of this like reminder of like, if you want to eat meat, you need to kill things. And like, I know that it's easy in your home when you just order DoorDash. I think Alex made that exact comparison that like, you don't think about it, but it's like, yeah, if you were stranded on an island and you wanted to eat meat, you would have to get your hands dirty to do that. So like, I think it's a very poignant message that they're sending. And I think people who misinterpret it are just soft and don't like watching uncomfortable things on their TV screen.
And in the new era, they cast a lot of the same people and the same archetypes. Does anyone on this cast remind you of yourself or anybody else from your season?
Nobody particularly reminds me of me quite yet. I'd say that if I had to pick anybody from me, it'd be MC. Because much like myself on her original tribe, she was brought in to be the bottom member of a 4-person alliance. And instead of doing that, she decided to go to the person that was being targeted and make that her alliance and kind of rat out the plan to her. And I did something not quite the same, but similar. And I always really like it when players try to do something that isn't just let's make a core 4 and we'll stick with this until we get to a swap or we get to the merge. Like I had the opportunity to do that on Tuku and I chose not to. So like I had a lot of respect for that. I think that Shannon and Tiana had a lot in common. Not in terms of personality per se, but in terms of gameplay. I think they were both just like very clockable players that once they started playing with people that weren't on their original 6 tribe, everybody kind of clocked what their game was and they went out pretty promptly after that. So I see a lot of similarities there. It's tough just because like we get a full sample size of 47, right? And we've only had like a pre-merge of 49. So I'm sure there are many players that could grow in or out of these comparisons over the course of the next 2 months. But those are the 2 that probably stick out to me the most.
It's to be fair to Tiana, she was voted out by her original tribe, so
which is also true, yeah. Unlike, but also like, so was Shannon, kind of, right? Like, I mean, she was voted out by 2 Uli members. So like, yeah, Steven was there, but it wouldn't have really mattered how Steven voted. I mean, I guess if he went to Juwan, it probably would have been a tie. But I think like no matter what, Shannon was going home that night, and it was her tribe had the majority. So not quite the same, but definitely some similarities there.
Have you met any of the 49 cast yet?
Yeah, I met pretty much all of them. There's a couple that I haven't met yet, but everyone I met, I've had very, very positive experiences. But they all seem like super cool people. People I'm very happy to welcome into this community with open arms.
Is that going from like going to watch parties or just hanging out?
Yeah, just like watch parties, and then you never know when you're in the same town as somebody, especially when you're going to visit other Survivor people, and then you find out that some other folks are in town, so you all kind of get together. But yeah, it's been nice to see some of them.
What did you think of the two people getting removed from the game before it even started and getting replaced by Jason MC?
Yeah, I mean, it's very silly. It's very, very silly. I don't know why you would be so gung-ho on breaking the rules before the game when you know that there are alternates there and you know that you will never get called back if you do that. So it's like, I don't know what advantage you stand to gain. Like, if you're really talking with somebody else, it's like, what tribe are you on? I'm on red. Oh, I'm on yellow. Okay, well, if we both make it to the merge, let's work together. Okay, like that's the extent of like the pre-gaming you can do at Ponderosa. So I don't really understand the point of it. I don't think there's like hardly anything to gain from doing that. And everything that you do in Ponderosa, you can just do in the game, right? You can be like, hey, I really liked your vibes pre-game. Like, we should work together. And it's okay. Like, I just don't know what you stand to gain. I don't know what you stand to gain from it. And you stand to lose everything. You stand to lose everything that you wanted and worked so hard for. So, yeah, I thought it was very, very silly of them to do.
And clearly they made the pregame interesting. So do you think the season would be more interesting if the two of them were on the cast?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. Like if they were willing to really bend the rules like that and go hog wild before they even started filming, like, yeah, maybe they would be really good people to have on there. But also, I don't know, maybe they would flame out right away, just like they did in pregame. Like, it's really hard to say. But I mean, to have the cojones to decide to like try and pregame that hard when you're that close to the finish line of actually getting to play. Yeah, maybe you would have some things up your sleeve, but I think there's an equal chance that they would have just flamed out right away because of how aggressive they were clearly playing.
Has it come out at all that who the two people might be? Does the 49 cast know them, or you don't know?
I mean, they were there with them, so I assume that they know what they look like, and they, but I haven't heard anything about them now.
So one of the alternates that made the cast, Jason, he was voted out 2 episodes ago. I had a question about Jason that his argument to stay in the game was that he was a bridge to Hina. Does keeping a bridge to the opposition make any sense for Uli?
Yes, I think it does, but I also think that, and I think that's kind of what Savannah was getting at in that episode where Jason goes home, was this like, if I can formulate a plan to keep Jason in the game, but it looks like it's Jason's plan and not mine, then like I have this direct connection to Hina that doesn't cause any blowback from my original Uli tribe. And so like I really like that move by Savannah, and obviously it doesn't work out and she ends up going with the majority. But I also think that they just find themselves in like this numbers game right now, where it's like, okay, like, yeah, like we can keep him in the game and maybe we can have some kind of cross tribe connection once we get to the merge. But I think that A, only works if you're an individual like Savannah. And B, it's like, yeah, we could have that, but also if we just take the majority into the merge, we can steamroll them anyway. So it's like, who needs to work with Hina if we can just take them out of the game completely? So I think that was really his only argument to make, but I don't think it was a winning argument. And I think that showed itself in the vote.
How does being an alternate change the way that you play the game?
Like if you get called in as an alternate the year that you're an alternate.
Yeah, like Jason getting put in last minute. How does that change the way he plays the game?
It's tough to say as somebody who wasn't an alternate, but if I had to guess, I would say almost in a negative way. I think it makes you like too grateful to be there, where it's like, wow, the fact that I'm even playing right now is a victory. And that's a good mindset to have after you're done, right? But when you're in the middle of the game, the idea of like, wow, like I shouldn't have even been here and here I am. I think it kind of makes you like okay with whatever happens, regardless of where you go out. So I actually think it could be a negative thing on your psyche. And MC hasn't talked about being an alternate at all. So it's like maybe she kind of has the best like approach to it right now.
Someone like Rachel or Shaheen or Sage. Sage was an alternate for your season. Do you think that they have an advantage coming out to Fiji for a second time?
Oh, 100%. And you see alternates do well all the time. Like all the time, alternates do well. You know, Rachel was an alternate for 46, and she goes on to win our season. Was Kenzie an alternate? I might be making that up, but I think she might have been.
I don't recall that.
I could be wrong about that, so don't quote me on that. But like alternates go on to do very well all the time, and it's for that exact reason that like they've gone through the entire process. They've flown to Fiji, like they've done the pregame. They know what it feels like. And I feel like it's almost the opposite, right, of what I just described with Jason. Or if you're an alternate for one season and then you get called back for a different season, then it's like I've worked so hard for this. I've gone through every single like phase of this process that you could possibly go through. And now that I'm here, like I'm going to leave everything out because I've been so close and I've had it taken away from me that now like I'm going to do everything I possibly can to win versus what I think kind of the mindset Jason might have had, which is just like anything happens, I'm happy with it. So yeah, I think they have a huge advantage going out there a second time. Massive.
So how do you think that Sage would have done in your season?
That's a good question that we talk about a lot on 47, and we wish that she was on 47. I think she would have fit in great with us. And she's just so entertaining on this season that like it would have been nice to have that for ourselves. I think that I don't know who she would have been an alternate for, so it's kind of all like, what tribe she lands on. But like I think she would have done fine because she's a good player. Like you can tell she's a good player. The move she orchestrated against Shannon was great. And like the way that she's kind of been able to find herself in different pockets and alliances in this game has been great. So I think she would have been another really good player on a stacked season of great players if she was on 47.
Has the male alternate from your season been on the show yet or no?
No, he is not. And I don't know if he will. I chat with him sometimes, but it's very, very rare. So I don't know if he's still in the mix or if he even wants to. But yeah, we have not seen the 47 male alternate yet now.
Yeah, so on this season, we have 2 Sophies in the cast. There's been 49 seasons. Why do you think that we need 2 people the same name on the same season? Why do you think this happens?
Right? I mean, and not only, if you want to, like, there are 2 Sophies, and there's a Savannah, and there's a Shannon, and there's a Sage, and there's, a Steven. There's, like, so many S names this year, which is, like, it's fun, but it's, yeah, I don't know. It's, it definitely makes it confusing when you're trying to recap an episode on a podcast, that's for sure.
So what happens when the 2 of them get to the end and you got to vote for a winner and you got to vote Sophie? What do you write?
Well, there's one Sophie that doesn't have an E. There's Sophie with an E and there's Sophie with no E. So I really hope they know that distinction if that's how it ends up playing out.
Do you think Sophie without the E, she actually spells it that way, or is that the differentiator for the show?
I think that's how she spells it. At least on social media, that's how it's spelled.
And speaking of Sophie, she found the knowledge is power advantage. Do you think that this will play a factor in the game later?
Yeah, I mean, she has had like I think the best social game thus far. She's found herself in a lot of really tough places, and she always seems to come out of it in a better place than where she was before. And now she has paired that elite social game with some success hunting advantages. And when you put those 2 things together, like that's how you win Survivor, is having an elite social game and having a couple of advantages as get out of jail free cards whenever things don't break your way. And she has that now. And she knows where idols are in this game as well. So it's like, yeah, I think that's going to be a huge deal for her down the stretch. How she ends up using it remains to be seen. But like, yeah, I mean, it takes her game to a different level. And I think that's kind of what she's been waiting for. But it's great for her. And she's been one of my favorite players this season. So I'm happy about it.
If you were on the season, who do you think that you would have wanted to align with?
I probably would have looked at Sophie, the Sophie with an I, both Hispanic. So we have something like off jump that we can kind of relate to. And we were both the only Hispanic people on our seasons. So like, I think that would have been something good. And she's also somebody who like, after meeting in real life a couple of times, we get along really well. And I like to think that I had a good eye for like who was good at playing the game and who was bad at playing the game. And like to think I would have pegged her pretty early on as someone that was good at playing the game.
So is someone who's good for the game, does that make for an alliance partner or someone you want to get out?
It depends, right? I think that like you can kind of put all Survivor players when you're out there playing yourself into 4 different categories, and you can have a good beneficial player, a good dangerous player, a bad beneficial player, and a bad dangerous player. And it's kind of like up to you to decide like who's in what category. So like Sophie, I like to think if I was out there again, it's very hypothetical. But I would have liked to think that she would have been a good beneficial player. Like I looked at Caroline as a good beneficial player. That's somebody who's good at the game and will operate in a way that also pushes me forward as well. But somebody like Genevieve, for instance, is like a good dangerous player. That's somebody who's very good at the game, but her success translates to my failure. So that's someone who I want to get out. And then you have players who are bad, but they will help you move forward through the game, right? Like you would kind of call those goats, like people who will kind of do what you say, fall in line, vote the way you want them to vote, tell you the information that they have, and you keep moving forward. And then you have bad, dangerous players, people who are not very good at the game, but operate in a very chaotic way that's difficult to predict and will definitely keep them from winning. But when that grenade goes off, it could blow up in your face. So you want to be able to contain them and get them out in as clean of a manner as possible. So I look at Sophie as a good beneficial player if I was out there.
And Caroline, you said she was a good beneficial player until she had that little snake in her, as you said, right?
I said that to Teeny, actually. That was directed to
Teeny.
Teeny. Yeah. Which I know the way that the camera angle looked, it looked like I was talking.
Yeah, I watched that back today.
But yeah, no, that was actually directed towards Teeny. Because Teeny told me I was good all day long. And I knew I wasn't good, but I was like, Teeny, we can get Genevieve out. Like, why are you doing this to me? And then when it actually was me, I was like, well, you were being a snake. So there you go.
And did Caroline vote you out too, though?
Yes, she did. Which like I get, because that's where the majority was going, and it's like, what, are you going to throw a symbolic vote out for me just to stand with me? Like, I get why she did that, but then, you know, I go home and then Kyle goes home and then Caroline goes home, so you cut the head off the snake and then everybody else just followed. So maybe making a move like having Sue player idol on me to keep me in the game leads to them doing better in the game long term, and I think it does. But I get the move. You know, Caroline wanted to forge her own path and start playing her own game, and I get it. It just didn't work out for her.
So who do you think is playing the best game, and who is your winner pick at this point?
I think Sophie's playing the best game so far. I think she's gotten a massive benefit of getting the most screen time, so we've gotten to see most of her game. But I also look at Savannah as somebody who is just like so well insulated right now. Like, I think she's the most insulated player in the game. Like, she's really deep in this Uli alliance. Nate is seen as the head of the snake of that alliance, not Savannah, even though it seems like that's actually what's going on. She has a really close ally in Sophie. So she's been able to go outside of her original tribe to find strong alliances as well. That will be huge now that we're getting into the merge. So like, Sophie's been my favorite player. We've got to see so much of her. I love the way she's navigated through this game. She has his knowledge is power now, which is a huge deal. But I think Savannah is the most well positioned right now. So it's still so early, but I'd probably say Savannah, just because we've gotten a lot of screen time of her. She's been a big narrator this season, and she finds herself really well insulated. Like, if a Uli goes home next, I don't think it'd be Savannah. I don't even think the next 2 votes if a Uli went home, it'd be Savannah.
So is there anything else about 49 you wanted to touch on before we get into your season?
I think we covered a lot of ground here. You know, it's still early. It's still very early, and no legends are made in the pre-merge. You know, the pre-merge, especially in New Era, is kind of like just getting there. It's like, let's just, as players and as viewers, it's like, let's just get to the merge, you know? And so I think it's all going to really pick up once we hit this next episode. But yeah, like I'm a big fan of Sophie. I'm a big fan of Savannah. I really like Rizzo so far. I think he's another person that's really well insulated. Like, I think that, like, where you really don't want to be in your alliance at this phase of the game is you don't want to be at the very top and you don't want to be at the very bottom, because eventually, like those alliances are going to break down and you're going to need to offer people up to be sacrificed. And the easiest people to sacrifice are the people at the very top because they're big threats, and the people at the very bottom because nobody's game really changes a lot if they go home. And right now, Savannah and Rizzo find themselves like right in the middle of that Uli alliance, which is right where you want to be. And Rizzo has an idol as well. And also he's been like super entertaining. He has this just like very endearing, like kind of dorky energy that I love to watch. Like I think it's so much fun, and he's really making like a personality for himself. And I think that's on a season where we haven't gotten a ton of that from everybody. It's very refreshing. I'm always smiling when Rizzo's on the screen. So those are kind of the people I'm looking at right now that I find to be particularly interesting.
So are you saying that Jelinski isn't a legend, that you said legends aren't really made in the free merch?
Sorry, Jelinski. He's a cool dude. We chat sometimes. Not a legend.
So let's get into you getting on Survivor. What is your casting story? How did you end up on Survivor?
I just sent an audition video and I heard back. My roommate was a really, really big fan of Survivor, like a huge fan, and he kind of got me back into it. And I kept telling him, like, you should apply, you'd be really good at it. And he never did it. So then I did it. And I ended up getting one call back, another call back, another, and the next thing you know, I'm on the show. So I kind of did it on a whim just because I wanted my friend to do it and he didn't. So I was like, all right, well, if you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. And then I just kept getting those callbacks, and next thing you know, you're on the show, so it was pretty funny.
So you only applied once?
Twice in the same year. Once in March, once in September, and in September I got the call back.
So what had you seen of Survivor before going in? Were you a super fan? Were you a casual fan? What did you know about the show?
Well, I thought I was a super fan, and then I met Andy and Teeny, and I realized that I was anything but a super fan. I mean, I had seen pretty much like every season of the seasons I really liked. I had watched multiple times. So like I was into the show. I knew the show. I knew the lore of the show. I was like an observer of the online community. But then like once I got on the show, like I just realized how deep the rabbit hole went of like Survivor fandom. So like I was more well educated than some, not as well educated as others, I'd say.
And how has your fandom changed since doing the show? Are you more invested in the show, or is it not? Are you not as much into it?
I'm invested in a very different way now. Because it's like I know these people personally. Like I get to do podcasts like this one, which is fun. So like I'm kind of watching the show thinking like, how do I want to talk about this in more than just like watching it and having fun. So I'd say like it's not as fun to be a viewer as it used to be. Just because like once you see how the sausage is made, it's not quite the same versus like when you're a viewer, like it's all still magic, like it's all still the magic of TV, and all you know is what you see every Wednesday, and that's it. And like that's very magical. But then once you kind of see all that and you know the people personally, like it's a little bit different. It feels almost more like watching like game film from like a NFL game or an NBA game than it does watching like a TV show, which is a weird comparison, and I'm sure I could probably think of a better one. But it doesn't hit the same. It's a lot more like objective. Like I don't feel like I get to have as strong of opinions, and I feel like I give way more benefit of the doubt. And that's like a big difference too, is that like I know how much they're not showing now. I know all the BS you have to deal with that doesn't make it on screen. That's purely production stuff. So I kind of watch it, and I don't get to have as strong of an opinion because it's not just like they suck like you can do when you're a viewer. It's more like that didn't look great, but I'm sure X, Y, and Z was happening and we didn't see that, so we should account for that to make sure that we're not being too harsh, And it's like, so it's not quite as fun as it used to be, but I get to have a different relationship with it. That's a much more unique relationship. So that's cool in its own right.
And you take all this into account on your podcast when you're doing your podcast on Johnny Fairplay's network?
Oh, of course, yeah. Somebody has to counter Johnny's crazy takes, right? Like someone has to be the adult in the room.
Well, doesn't he? I mean, just like you, he becomes friends with some of these people too, right?
He becomes what? Say it again.
Friends with some of these people, like how you're friends with these people.
Oh yeah, sure, but he's also just very old school Survivor oriented. So like everything the new era does sucks, and everything that Johnny did when he was on Survivor was the greatest thing ever. And he's right some of the times, but you need to have some objectivity when you're talking about it.
So looking back on your season, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently?
The short answer is no. I think I played every phase of the game I was in about as well as I could have played it. Like anything that I would have done differently would have been like it's very nitpicky and it's very hindsight is 2020, you know? Like the one thing that I think I probably could have done was like do more upkeep on my relationships with Caroline and Sue. Like Sue was with me till the very end. You know, like there was no doubt about that. And that showed in the vote. Like she's the only person that voted Genevieve with me when I went home. But like maybe if I had talked to her a bit more in those last few days, I could have found out about her idol. Like maybe, or like maybe I could have just told her like, hey, I really, really don't feel good about tonight. Like I think it's gonna be me tonight. I feel really, really bad about it. Then maybe she on her own accord plays it. But also like I only say that because I know she had an idol now. But in the moment, I was like, the last person I need to talk to is Sue because I know she's going to vote with me no matter what. And she did. Like, I needed to go talk to like Teeny and I need to talk to Sam and I need to talk to the people that aren't as locked in with me. So, like, in the moment, I don't think I would have changed that. But the hindsight, you know, maybe it would have been different. And that same thing I think extends to Caroline. Like in those last like few days, I really stopped talking to Caroline as much as I did. But it was for the same reason that I was like, this person's so locked in with me. Like I need to build equity with other players in the game that I'm not as close with. And if I had done more to reassure Caroline that like we were still peers and she was my number one and like we were doing this together, maybe again she could have played Sue's idol on me. But I don't think those things were guarantees. I think like they were still kind of long shots, even if I did those things. So like no, like, I'm very happy with it. I think I played the pre-merge as good as anybody can play the pre-merge. I think I played like that mid-merge part of the game really, really well. I think I insulated myself really well, and I think we just got down to single digits, and I was the most obvious person to vote out. Like if I wasn't me on 47, I would have voted me out at 9, like it happened. So I think I kind of just ran out of rope to run with, and that happens, you know.
And was Caroline and Sue your intended final three?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. There's a few permutations I thought about where maybe I take Kyle and Sue instead of Caroline and Sue, just because I think Caroline was the only other person that could have like claimed parts of my game as hers, which I would have disagreed with, but I think she's the only person who even could have made the argument for it. So I think if I take Caroline and if I take Kyle and Sue, it's almost like a guaranteed win for me. And I feel a similar way if I take Caroline and Sue, but that was the only person that like I had overlap in my game with. So maybe you take her out, but I think like the plan was to take Caroline and Sue always because that was my alliance. And like if we're sitting in the final three, that's like this is my alliance that I created and we're all sitting here together. Like how is that not like credit for me, you know?
Yeah, going back to the pregame, was there anyone in the pregame that you had pegged that you thought could win or you saw as a big threat?
Yeah, Rachel was one, which is honest. Like I have it in my notes that I wrote, so I'm not just saying that because she won. I looked at Rachel as somebody who could be a big threat. Genevieve I looked at as a big threat. Sierra I looked at as a big threat in the pregame. Those were the big three that I was kind of keeping my eye on. Like Andy, Sam, Kyle, like those were not people that I really thought were going to be big threats and ended up being big threats. So that's pretty funny. But for Genevieve, Rachel, and Sierra, those were the three that I was like the most worried about going in.
Did you recognize Asia or were you not an RHP guy before?
I was not deep. I would watch like the exit press that Rob did. And like some like know-it-alls, but like I had no idea whatsoever.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting because didn't Andy and Asia, I think they recognized each other in the pregame. They had already known
did.
each other. So.
Yeah. And they never got the chance to play together, which is such a shame, but they did recognize each other.
And I think Teeny also knew Asia, but Teeny still voted Asia
and we
out,
see
right?
that on the show. Yeah.
So I guess the pregame relationship before even Survivor doesn't mean much.
Exactly. I mean, and that's the point, is that it's the same with like the 49 people, is that like you don't know how things are going to shake out. So it's like, why does it even matter? Anything you want to do in the pregame, you can do in the game if you get to that point.
Yeah. So speaking of Teeny lost the Final Four fire making. How crazy was that fire making challenge being there for that?
Oh, it was unbelievable. It was unbelievable. And like, we were very adamant of like, we are not smiling on the jury. We're not doing any reactions. Like, we are stone cold the entire time. And we did a great job of that until that fire making challenge. And like, we literally couldn't help ourselves. We were just, oh my God. Oh, and I think that makes it cooler because it was genuine. It's like, that is really how we were feeling in that moment. So yeah, that was crazy. I couldn't believe that we were there and we got to watch it. It was so crazy.
Yeah, but as crazy as it was, it didn't ultimately mean anything, right? Because even if Teeny won, Teeny wasn't going to win the game. It was always going to be Rachel.
I mean, probably not, but you never know how Final Tribal Council is going to go. Like, I think Teeny had a really good argument to make to win, just like Sam did. And it would have been an uphill. It would have been an uphill battle for sure. But like, you just never know. Like, so much can happen in Final Tribal Council that it could go any which way. So like, do I think Rachel still would have won? Probably, but you don't speak in absolutes in Survivor.
At the time that you were voted out, did you predict that Rachel was going to win the game at that point?
No, because I thought that like she won't make it to the end, is what I was like. She's too big of a threat. She won't make it to the end. And that would have been the case had she not gone on a crazy immunity run. So yeah, I did not peg her as a winner at the time.
So who did you think at that point was going to win?
I thought that Kyle had a chance to go on a good immunity run. I thought, and also I kind of wanted Kyle to win at that point because I was like, they took me out. Kyle was my homeboy. Like, it would be fun to watch him just steamroll everybody in the challenges and like set records because he was in such a good place to break the record at the time. So I really wanted to see that happen. I thought Genevieve has no chance of making it to the end. So like, she was somebody who I thought was one of the best players in the game. But I was like, there's just no way. I thought Sam was in a place where he can make it. And I was like, if he makes it, he'll probably have a good chance to win against whoever he's up against. Because I didn't assume it would be like Genevieve or Rachel. So he was somebody I was looking at. And I thought if Caroline makes it, she would have a chance. But I also was like, there's just no way she makes it. She didn't have the alliances or the equity.
How do you rank Rachel compared to other winners?
I think she's the best winner ever. She's our winner, so she's the best to me.
But do you respect? Is it because she's your season's winner? Like, what kind of game do you respect that she won on immunity run and had these advantages? Do you respect that more, or like a social game more?
I mean, I think that like production decides what's valuable in Survivor. The fans don't decide. And the fans can like kick and scream and throw as many temper tantrums on Twitter as they want. But like that doesn't matter. Like, challenges have never been devalued in Survivor. They are worth the same now that they were worth in season 1. And it's like, if you want to discount that, that's a personal preference that you can have. But like, it doesn't matter if you win an NFL game by kicking 10 field goals or if you win by scoring 4 touchdowns. Like, you won the game, and just because you don't like watching field goals on TV doesn't mean they're worth less points. And so I look at immunity challenges the same exact way. Like, production decides if you win an immunity challenge, if you keep winning immunity challenges, you will sit in the final 3. So it's like that's the game that we're playing. And if you go by the value of the rules of the game, then like, yeah, it's just as valuable as having a great social game or having a great strategic game or whatever that may be. And also, like, you can't win. Like, we watched Russell Hantz go lose 2 of the best played games ever because he didn't have a good social game. So if you don't have a good social game, you don't win at Final Tribal. Like, and like the merits of having a good social game are you well liked by the people you played with? Like, that's it. That's all that really matters for a social game. And Rachel was well liked by the people that she played with, and that's reflected in the final vote. So like, that shouldn't be, tossed aside. Did she have a strong strategic game? Well, we don't know because she was always immune. So we never really got to see her strategic game play out. She got blindsided a few times with her allies getting sent home unexpectedly. Um, and that is a knock against her strategy in 47. But like I think it's super lame when people knock uh immunity one it immunity runs that lead to wins. I think that's super lame. I think Mike Holloway is a great winner. And I think it's just like it's not the way that you like to see the game won. So you try to devalue it with your commentary afterwards. Not you, but like just people online. Like
Mm.
because you're left unsatisfied because it's not the kind of game you like to see on TV. But it's like it doesn't matter what you think. It matters what the people who make the game and decide the rules. It matters what they think, and they deem that it's valuable. So it is valuable. And Rachel going on a crazy immunity run, tying the women's record for immunity wins, playing an idle right to get out what I think was the best player in the game in Andy. Like if you don't respect that, you like that's your problem and you can deal with that. But like I have a lot of confidence and security in having respect for those kinds of games.
And how crazy is the alternate to winner storyline?
Oh, it's awesome. You know, it's great for her. And again, it's somebody who like she was applying for like 6 or 7 years before she got on. And then she finally gets on as an alternate, and then she gets cut, and then she makes it back, and then like it's awesome. It's great.
Yeah, I need to ask you about your victory dance after winning immunity.
Sure.
Talk me through that moment. And looking back, did you feel it's cringy at all, or no?
Of course not. It was the coolest thing I've ever done in my entire life, and probably will ever do for the rest of my life. I like. Are you familiar with Ray Lewis? Do you know who that
Yeah.
is? So
Yes.
it's Ray Lewis's dance he does when he comes out the tunnel, and like, and I say before I do the dance, I'm like, can I hit a dance with the people back at home? And like that was very intentional for me to say. Like, if you weren't from Baltimore or Maryland, then it wasn't for you. And everybody had two reactions to it. It was either like you didn't know what it was and you were like, that was kind of weird, or you were from Baltimore and you were like, oh my God, what did I just watch? Oh my God. Like, and it was awesome. So it was like, if you didn't get it, then it wasn't for you. And I don't care what your opinion about it was. And if you did get it, then I know you appreciated it and like it was for you. So like I'm glad that you enjoyed it.
Was that planned, or was that a spur of the moment kind of thing?
Oh, I always knew I was doing it. I knew from my first callback if I win individual immunity, I'm hitting the scroll dance.
So did you have plans if you want future immunities? We're going to do other dances or the same one, or?
No, because I was like, it's a one-time thing. Like and then if I was gonna do it again, I would have done it if I had won the whole thing. I would have done it at Final Tribal. So like that was the only other time, because then it's like, okay, you're just milking it at that point. So I was like, no, it should be the first and the last is how I wanted to do it.
So you said that Rachel is the best winner, your favorite winner, but how do you think the season as a whole compares to other seasons? Is it the best season?
47.
On it? Yeah.
Well, like yes, it's the best season because I was on it. But also like I think it is a legitimately, all bias aside, fantastic season of Survivor. Like I think most people would agree it's like a top 15 season. I think there's a very fair argument it's a top 10 season. I think it's far and away, leaps and bounds, not even worth a conversation of comparison, that it's the best new era season. And that seems to be a pretty common sentiment throughout the community. Um, yeah, like I think it's great. It has everything. It has great characters. It has a great pre-merge. It has a great post-merge. It has a great winner. It has a great final tribal. It has a great fire making challenge. Like it has everything, you know? And I think a lot of the things that make the new era harder to watch, 47 didn't suffer from. And that's a really important thing too.
What was your favorite part of the whole Survivor experience? Was it making the friends along the way, or was it something else?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was two things. I think that it was like making the friends along the way. Like I have a whole family of 47 people now that it's just like the coolest thing in the world. Like I talk to them every day. We hang out all the time, as people see online. Like, you know, a bunch of them are together right now in California. I know they're doing like a girls trip in Napa Valley before the RHAB on Wednesday in San Fran, which is like, it's awesome. And I love seeing them get to have a good time. I was just in Nashville with Sam and Andy and Saul, and that was great. But then also being able to, again, in the vein of the Ray Lewis dance, like take that experience back home with me, you know? And like, I adore this city more than like probably a person should. And being able to like do my little 1% effort of putting us on the map was like great. And I got to come home and I got to have watch parties in Baltimore with like all of my friends and family. And like that was cool that I got to take this experience and it's something that I got to bring back to my hometown and with like my lifelong friends and my family members. Like that was crazy. And doing those watch parties in Baltimore was genuinely like as cool as getting to play Survivor. Like it was a complete out of body experience every Wednesday. So like those two things, like getting to represent the city, getting to like do well on the show, because a lot of people from Baltimore and Maryland don't do well on Survivor. So getting to turn that around and like, you know, finding an idol and playing an idol and making the merge and making the jury and winning individual immunity and winning a bunch of tribal challenges and, you know, even though I got the freaking coconut, getting to like be a part of a Survivor auction, like all of those things are just like things I got to take back home with me and share with all my loved ones. So that was really, really cool.
Yeah, and a lot of casts aren't very close. Yours obviously is probably the closest of the new era, maybe ever. Why do you think this is that your cast has become so close and many casts aren't?
I think for whatever reason they casted a lot of very normal, well-adjusted people on 47. Not everybody, but most of us are very normal people, and I think that is understandably rare in like reality TV because that's the last thing you want. You want the craziest people in the country to be on your show for reality TV, and our season was a bunch of very normal, very smart game players, and I think that's why it was such a great season. I think it's why we're so close afterwards because like there's just this consensus of just like what happened on the island stays on the island, and we respect all the moves everybody made, whether it hurt you or helped you. Like you have respect for it, and it was all within the spirit of the game. And we also just get along great. Like I would be friends with all of these people whether we were on Survivor or not.
So I have to ask you about Rome because I see you guys going back and
Sure.
forth on Twitter. What's the beef there?
He's just a punk. Like I don't know. Like he's a punk. He was a punk on the island. As most people know, there was controversy with our boot order getting leaked. There was like never an apology or like a concession for that, whether it was intentional or not. I think that there should still be like some ownership of that happening on your watch, and there was none of that. And like the way he goes about trash talking, I think is like the biggest like wuss way of doing it. Like has me blocked on Twitter, loves to subtweet about me. Like never names me, never ats me in any of his subtweets, just like puts it out there. And then when I respond and when I call him by his name and make it very clear who I'm talking about, he goes and he deletes all of his tweets and all of his trash talk that he put out there. So it's like part of it is like I don't like the way that he's conducted himself after the show finished. I don't like the way he conducted himself on the island. I really don't like the way he conducted himself after the show, during the airing and after it's done airing. But I don't even have respect for the way that he like is a punk, you know? Like if you're going to like say things with your chest, if you're going to leave tweets on your profile, if you're going to tag people and at them when you're talking trash about them, okay, I don't like it, but I can respect that. I don't even have respect for the way that he acts like a punk. So it's like he's you know, can I cuss on this podcast?
Go for it.
He's bitch made. He's just bitch made. That's what it is. Some people are made like bitches. He's made like a bitch. So it's like, if that's how he wants to act, then that's his prerogative to do it. But it's my prerogative to respond and defend myself and make it clear about how I feel about him when he, you know, acts like a clown. So it is what it is.
Yes, you mentioned pretty clearly that he leaked the boot list for the season. What did your cast think in that moment when he did that?
Well, I mean, like, I think it was just like, it's not that I think he leaked the boot list. He did leak the boot list. And yeah. I think just like the question is like, was it intentional or not? And it's almost like I don't really like it does matter, you know, because if you do that intentionally, that's like just objectively scummy. And if you don't do it intentionally, then like, you know, mistakes happen. I get that. That's a really, really, really big negligent mistake to let happen. And I think you have to be really ignorant and really negligent of what you're doing to let that happen in the first place, especially in the context that it happened. But like, I think everyone was just like, what the hell was this? Like, that's not cool. Why did he do that? And then he didn't really answer for it, you know? So yeah, we were all pretty upset when it happened, understandably so.
So did he get in any kind of trouble for this at all, or?
I couldn't tell you. I don't know.
And he was allegedly called for 50. Are you shocked that he might have been called for 50 based on this happening?
Yes and no. I mean, again, that's like his word. So is it true? Is it not? Who knows? If we work under the assumption that it is true, I think that it probably means that he didn't get in trouble for it. You know, I can't imagine they would be upset with him for leaking the boot order or thought he did it intentionally and then called him for 50. So if we assume that is true, then, I guess I'm not shocked because it means they weren't, they didn't really care. But I also think that there are like these like court jester characters that like you want on TV because the whole country gets to laugh at them, and the whole country laughed at Rome when he was on 47, and they probably want a couple people who are going to do that on 50. So it's like, yeah, let's bring Rome on 50. He clearly won't win, probably won't make it very far, and we can clip him up and make memes about him, and he'll be a court jester, and that just is what it is.
Didn't Russell Hantz leak the boot list on one of his seasons?
I also couldn't tell you.
One?
I have no idea.
Yeah. So if you could have been on another reality show besides Survivor, what would have been, or would you have always wanted to just be on Survivor?
Oh, that's a good question. Survivor was the only one that I ever really wanted to the point of like, I'll put effort into this to do it. Because I'm admittedly not a huge reality TV guy. I kind of just like Survivor and that's it. But I always thought Amazing Race would be very fun. Big Brother doesn't really interest me a whole lot. It seems like it's a lot of work for not a lot of reward unless you win. Excuse me. But yeah, I always thought like doing Amazing Race with my dad would be really, really fun. And that was a show that we watched a lot as a kid. So that's probably my only like legitimate answer. But I would like to do Fear Factor. I know they're bringing that back, so I'm curious to see what this iteration of it looks like, but I was always a big Fear Factor fan too. I don't think I'd be very good at it, but I would like to try.
Yeah, talking about The Amazing Race, the season airing right now is all Big Brother players and their loved ones. So do you want to see Survivor do this, the Survivor players and their loved ones?
Let's do it, man. Me and Sue. Let's make it happen. That's my dream.
And so have you been called for any shows since you did Survivor, or nobody's been calling?
I'm not allowed to talk about it.
So that means people have been calling.
You can read into that however you want.
So let's get into Survivor 50 a little bit. So we know Genevieve comes back to Survivor 50, but who else from your cast do you want to see come back, whether it's Survivor or any other show?
Obviously, I'd like to go back, but outside of myself, I think Andy should be a no-brainer. I think he's like maybe the best player of the new era, to be honest with you. He's so good. I think Sam deserves another shot. I think that he is somebody who like has game left to play, and I would love to see what Sam 2.0 looks like. I think it could be really, really, really entertaining. So those are the two people from my season that stick out the most. Rachel obviously should get called back. I think she's the best winner of the new era. I think that you want her out there to see if she can go on another challenge run. You want her out there to see if she can adjust her game if she's not winning challenges and what that looks like. So like those three are probably the big three that I think deserve another run out.
And you said when Jeff snuffed your torch that you'd be back to play again. So when is this going to happen?
I can't talk about it.
Why did you say this? Did you think like in the moment, like I'm enough of a character, made an impact in the season that I'm definitely going to be called back? I
think that it was just like the game is all about storylines, right? It's a TV show. Like it's not like NFL is a TV show. Like it is a produced TV show. So my thought was like, yes, obviously I had a lot of confidence in myself and how I played. Do I think I'm somebody that's worthy of getting called back? Absolutely, I do. But I think it was more like I want to leave them with like I'm blanking on the term right now. I wanted to leave them with a loose end, like because that's something they can always go back to. And if they do decide to bring me back, then it's like, we're picking up this storyline from where we left off. And it makes my game feel a little less complete because of that last word, like I'll be back. Now we're asking the question, will he be back? If he does come back, what does that look like? So it's like I kind of gave them like I made it, I think, a bit easier to call me back because of that. Because it's like, well, he said it, so let's kind of complete that storyline here. So that was kind of the thinking when I said it.
Did you consider doing a dance on the way out or no?
Absolutely not. No. It's a victory.
So if or when Survivor does call you back, you would go back given the chance?
Oh, in a heartbeat, absolutely. My bag is packed, my phone is on.
And is there a certain theme that you'd want to do, or you'd go back under any circumstance?
I'd go back under any circumstance for sure. I think Blood versus Water would be really fun. I think I'd take my dad if we did that, and I think that would be really, really fun. And also, like, just because of like how revered it is in the lore of Survivor, if they did Heroes versus Villains Part 2, I'd like to go back, I imagine, as a villain. I think that would be really, really fun as well.
Is there a past Survivor player that you would dream to play with on a future season?
Jeremy Collins, for sure. That's my guy. That dude's awesome. Great in real life, great on the show. Who I tried to model my game after, which didn't really end up working out as well as I hoped it would. But yeah, Jeremy Collins.
Yeah, talking about Survivor 50, I asked Jelinski earlier when I spoke to him if people were calling him because people thought that Jelinski might be on the season. Were people calling you thinking you might be on the season, or were you not involved?
Oh
in
yeah,
the,
tons of people, especially like around Baltimore. Like a lot of people were asking me, and I knew that wasn't going to happen. But yeah, people were definitely curious for sure.
But I mean, like other players calling you saying, "Hey, Gabe, we're gonna line if we're on there," you know?
Oh, like kind of, but I am vehemently anti pre-gaming. I think it's, and I know it's impossible to stop, and it will always happen for as long as the show's on TV. But I just think it's so lame. I think it completely defeats the purpose of the show. I think it cheapens the game that you're playing. I think it cheapens the season that you're on. So, like, I am very anti pre-gaming. So I had no space for that.
So what are your thoughts on the cast for 50?
I think that 50, and this doesn't determine the worth of people on there, because I think there are many people on the cast who deserve to be on there. But I think that, like, the theme of the 50 cast is, oh, I remember that person. And I think that's kind of where they were working from a casting standpoint. I think that they knew that a lot of people who either haven't been tuning into the show for a while, or are very casual viewers, were going to be very invested into the season. And everybody that was on the show needed to be like, oh, I remember them. And so that's like Suri, that's Colby, that's Stephanie LaGrossa, that's Coach, that's two people from 49, that's Kyle and Camilla and Joe Hunter. Like, that's kind of where I again, that's not to say that I don't think there were reasons that they deserve to be on the show, because I think pretty much all those people I named are worthy people of being on 50, but I don't think that's what casting had in mind when they put them on. I think casting had in mind, like, we need people that when you see them every week, when you see them on the promo material, you're not like, wait, who was that? You're like, oh, of course, I remember them. Yes, I remember them. Yes, I remember them. So I think that's kind of what the motivation was from a casting standpoint.
Were you surprised that Rachel didn't make the cut?
Very surprised. Yeah, I thought she was super worthy. I thought she deserved it. I thought she would have been great on there. And yeah, I'm pretty shocked that she didn't make it.
And you mentioned the 249 people being on the cast. What do you think of them playing back to back like this?
It's tough. It's brutal. They go home for like 2 weeks and then they go right back out to Fiji to start playing again. So yeah, that's really, really tough. But I think it's awesome. I think that it like is a cool story to tell. Playing back-to-back seasons with one of them being 50, I think it's cool.
And the rumor was that Andy and Marianne were the people on the cast who were replaced by these people. Would you have liked to see Andy and Marianne on there, or would you be happy with
of course. So like Andy, obviously. Like I would have paid my own money to see Andy on 50. And Marianne would have been cool. I would have liked to see how Marianne did on a different season, because I think that the way she played was like worked very well on her season with new era players. I'd be very curious to see how she does with some old school people in. And like Andy, yeah, like put Andy on, I think will win.
Do you think that there's too many new era players on the season?
Yes and no. Like I think that I like new era returnees, right? I think that if you were going to do something big, like start a new era of your game, then you need to like stand by the people that you're putting out to represent this like project that you're doing. I think that they really would have benefited if 49 was an exclusively new era returnee season, because then you can like build up some of these people. Like the thing is, everybody who's not new era on 50 is like a pretty much a bona fide legend of the game, right? Like, I mean, unless you have any in mind, I don't think there's any new old era people that are not like, oh my God, it's that person, you know? But you have like a handful of those for the new era people. And it's because the way you kind of cement your legend status, with a few exceptions, is by going back and playing again and like kind of expanding your lore. And none of the new era people have gotten an opportunity to do that yet. So I think when a lot of people say there's too many new era people, it's because there's a lot of new era people who don't really mean a whole lot to the audience. And it's very tough to do that when you don't go back and play again and get that label of being a returning player and having a whole second game to, again, expand like who you are as a Survivor player. So like, I'm very happy to see all those people return. I just think that if they were able to do it on a season that wasn't 50, it wouldn't be as controversial.
And obviously you're rooting for Genevieve, but who else are you going to be rooting for on the season?
Yeah, it's definitely like Genevieve, kill everybody. Like, I don't really care what anybody else does other than Genevieve, to be honest. I want her to win. I want it to be the best Survivor game ever played. I hope she wins every immunity challenge and finds every idol and gets a perfect game. But like outside of that, Kyle doing well, I think would be really cool. Kyle Frazier, I think that would be fun. Christian Hubicki doing well. He's a fellow Maryland guy. I would like to see him do good. And looking at Coach, I would like to see Coach do well too. I think that like any time we can see the Dragon Slayer make a run, it's always a good Survivor season. So I would like to see Coach do well too.
Do you get recognized from the show a lot on the streets, or
in Baltimore? Yeah, outside of Baltimore, not quite as much. And if we're all together, then we get recognized like a ton. If like we're all hanging out together, so like in Nashville, we were getting recognized a ton. But it's me, Andy, Saul, and Sam, so we kind of stick out, you know. But in Baltimore, I still get recognized a decent amount. Yeah.
So this is ultimately a Big Brother podcast. I just wanted to briefly touch on Big Brother. So do you have any experience with Big Brother? Do you watch the show? Have you seen it?
So none whatsoever. But I did watch like most of 26, or what was just on 27, 26.
Yep. 27 just happened.
And yeah, so I watched a good chunk of 27. It's just so much to keep up with, man. I don't know how you guys do it. Like, it's like 3 episodes a week plus the live feeds every single day. Like, it's a lot to keep up with. So I did fall off the train just because I didn't have the stamina to do it. But it was fun. I did like it. It's not a bad show, that's for sure.
Did you watch in season 25 when Suri was on?
No, I did not.
Is there a certain Survivor player that, like, if they won a Big Brother, you're like, okay, I'll deal with it, I'll watch Big Brother?
Anybody from 47, I'll watch, but that's it.
Which show do you think is harder? Because Suri, she's done Survivor like 6 times now, and she did Big Brother once, and she said, oh, Big Brother is much harder.
I think obviously like Big Brother is so much more of a grind just because it's so long. But I think that like you can't discount like the physical aspect that goes into Survivor. Like, I think that when you know that there's a finite end to it, it's a lot easier to deal with because it's like, this isn't forever. But like in the moment, like Survivor is absolutely brutal. Like it's so brutal. It is very unhealthy. It's like not good for your body. You put yourself through a lot. But I think Big Brother is more of like, think you just get sick of it, you know, like right around when you really start to get sick of Survivor is probably when you get voted out if you're having a good game, or you go all the way and you win and then like it was all worth it, you know. Where Big Brother, you probably get sick of it after like a month and you're like, I would do anything just to go home, but you can't. So I understand where Cerise's coming from. It makes total sense. But like Survivor is brutal. Survivor is very hard.
Is Big Brother something that you'd be open to, or you would pass on that?
Yeah, I think it would be fun, and like I think I would like doing it. But again, I don't have the same connection to it that I have to Survivor, and it's like a lot of work for I don't think you get paid a whole lot to go do Big Brother unless you win. So like the short answer is yes. I would be happy to go play Big Brother.
What players from your season of Survivor do you think that would do well on Big Brother?
Andy for sure. I think Teeny would win Big Brother if Teeny played. Those are the two that I think stick out the most.
And they're both big fans of Big Brother too, right?
Huge fans. Huge fans.
So how has being on reality TV impacted your view of yourself? What have you learned about yourself through this journey?
I think I have like a deep gratitude for like the people around me, you know, both Survivor and not Survivor. Just because like you really get like an extreme tidal wave of exposure to like a lot of people, you know, like a lot of people who are just straight up strangers that just want to take a picture with you at a watch party, and people who are like, whether they're alumni or like they're just in this community on like a deeper level, and they like are trying to interact with you and like, you know, have a relationship with you. Like you just get a lot of exposure to a lot of people, and you really start to appreciate folks who are like really your friends, you know, because it's like, oh my God, like I don't want to look at another person, you know, forever, but then I'll go see one of my really good friends, and it's like, oh, I can hang out with you until I die of old age. So I have like a very deep appreciation for people that I do actually like and actually enjoy spending time around, after being forced to spend a lot of time around just a bunch of strangers or people that I, you know, knew on a very surface level.
So something else I wanted to bring up that I found doing my research for this was that you were on a dating show recently in July, right?
Yeah.
So Love Isn't Blind, where I saw the men can't speak. So tell me about this experience.
It was fun. It was really fun. It's just like a one night only like comedy dating show. Like it's meant to be fun. It's meant to be like a comedy show, you know? And so I got asked to do it by the host, Ali Goldberg, who is great. And like, it was really fun. And it was funny because I got sat at a table with one of the other contestants before the show started. And I was like, look, man, and I started playing some Survivor. And I was like, look, man, no matter what, you and me are the last two at the end. I don't care what happened. And like, there's nothing you can do to like influence that, really. Like, I laughed a little harder at his jokes, you know, like we were sitting next to each other. I would kind of point at him if something good happened for him. But that, and then we ended up being the final two. So I was like, we won. Our alliance won. Who cares now? But it was really fun. It was a good time.
I asked Sammy when I spoke to him this question. One of my followers had this question of, has he had any riz with any Survivor women? So Gabe, have you spoken to any Survivor women that kind of way?
I would rather tell you who called me about being on a show or being on a season of Survivor before I talk about the Survivor ladies I've talked to.
No, but Sammy was very open. He told me who's tried to talk to. So
who did he say?
He said that he has spoken to he was interested in Dee, and he was interested in Sydney from 41. And he told me how they're both on the challenge right now, and that Sammy was actually called for the current season of the challenge. He's like, I messed up not going on that season because they were both
clearly
there.
He did, yeah. Wow. I also just recently started a relationship with somebody here in Baltimore, so I'm not getting myself in trouble with any Survivor women or with my current woman on the Big Brother Spoilers podcast. I appreciate the question, though.
I just thought I'd ask, but Sammy was very open, and we were talking about a dating show, so I thought. But the last thing I wanted to ask you about was I know you're a big sports guy, that you put on your Survivor bio that live sporting events is one of your favorite hobbies. So tell me about your sports teams.
I'm a massive Baltimore Ravens fan, as I'm sure you know, and it has been a very painful season thus far, but we are turning it around. 2 wins in a row, sitting at 3-5. We play the Vikings this upcoming week, and hopefully we can run them out of the U.S. Bank Stadium. And the Baltimore Orioles, who I have a very, very complicated relationship with, our baseball team here in Baltimore, because I want to like them so bad, but they break my heart so often that I have, part of me hates the team now, to be honest with you, but it's a love-hate. It's a hate of passion. And Tottenham Hotspur are my soccer team over in North London. I am obsessed with Tottenham. I care for them deeply. They're kind of pissing me off right now too, not gonna lie. They've been losing games, and that always puts me in a bad mood. But those are my 3 big teams. I will defend them until I die. They are my greatest hobbies and my greatest passions in my life. And when they're doing great, I am on top of the world. When they are doing bad, I am deep in the depths of hell. And so I've been deep in the depths of hell this fall so far, but I am slowly climbing through the layers like Dante to make it out of the inferno, and hopefully they can pull me out.
What about basketball? Are you into the NBA at all?
I enjoy the NBA. I just don't have a team in Baltimore. So I say I'm like a loose Wizards fan, but they're consistently the worst team in the league. So I do like following NBA though, and I kind of have like players that I like versus actual teams that I root for. So like I'm a big fan of Anthony Edwards. I think he's super fun to watch. I think he's good TV as well. Victor Wembanyama on San Antonio Spurs, I think has the potential to be like the greatest player of all time if he can stay healthy. So it's been very fun to watch his development. So yeah, like I'm definitely into the NBA. It's not as passionate when you don't have a team to root for.
So being that attending live sporting events is one of your hobbies, do you go to a lot of Ravens games or any other teams?
Every single game. I didn't get to go to the Bears game last week because I was in Nashville with Sam and the boys. So that was very complicated for me. But I go to every single Ravens game that I can. I've seen Tottenham play a couple times, and that was like awesome. And all summer long, I'm at Camden Yards watching the Orioles. So yeah.
Yeah, a dream of mine is to visit all 30 MLB and all 30 NBA. So
Nice.
NBA, I've only been to 5 so far. I go to the Nets home opener every year. I'm a Nets fan.
Okay.
And then baseball, I've been to half. I've been to 14 so far. So
have you been to Camden Yards?
I have been to Camden Yards.
Oh
yes.
yeah, awesome.
Yeah. So being on the East Coast, I've hit everything on the East Coast. So I got to start going out west if I want to hit some more.
Yeah, that's where it gets tough, right?
Did you play any sports in college?
No, not in college. No,
not in college.
College.
What about high school? Or are you an athlete, or are you just a watcher?
I played a lot of soccer in high school. That was my sport growing up. And I played in high school, and I ran track in the off season to stay in shape for soccer. But soccer was my big sport.
So what's next for you? Do you have any upcoming projects or appearances that you'd be excited to tell your fans about?
Yeah, so I'm on NPR right now here in Baltimore. So if you want to check out what I'm doing on NPR, especially if you're in the Baltimore area, you can head over to wypr.org. That's the name of our station. Or you can just follow me online at Gabe Ortis. Right here you can see on the thing on both Instagram and on Twitter to stay up to date with all the cool things I'm doing here. And also me and Johnny are talking Survivor every single week on the Reality After Show. So if you like Johnny Fairplay, if you hate Johnny Fairplay, it's the best place to go get Johnny Fairplay content. I know that sounds like a death sentence to some people, but I promise you I counterweight him very well, and it's actually a very, very, very good show that we do every Wednesday right after Survivor finishes.
So I'm curious about Fairplay. Was he a fan of you watching you play the game?
Yeah, he was a big fan of me, and I was a guest spot on his channel for 48, and then when 49 came along, they were like, we want you to do every episode with us. So I've been doing it since then, and Johnny's Johnny. He's exactly what you think he is. He's a lot nicer in real life than I think people would think. He's a big softy, actually, but he is Johnny. He is still Johnny Fairplay to his core. But it's fun. I like doing it. Honestly, I just want to have a place I can go and yap, and that's the place they let me yap. So.
And he was another big miss not being on 50, huh?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. The fact that he hasn't gotten called back yet, I think, is like despicable, but it is what it is.
All right, Gabe, that was everything I had for you. So thank you so much for coming on. We've been trying to make this work for a while now, so I'm happy